Hey guys, how's it going? As promised, I told you I was going to review the Ballistic app that I got for iOS, my iOS device. And just want to go through and explain what I've learned so far and show you how to use it. It's a little bit overwhelming when you first download it. So today it's like February 16th, 2017, and I have an iPhone and I have an iPad, and I was pretty bummed out when I found out that I had to purchase the app for both my iPad and my iPhone separately, especially how much it costs. So during SHOT Show, they had a special going on. You can see here, save 50%. It was normally $30, so it was going to cost me $60 total for my iPad and my iPhone. So I didn't buy it. Once it went 50% off, I totally bought the app on both devices. And as of today, it's running version 6.23. So I'm going to show you 6.23 on my iPad today. And if you're watching this in the future, it may have changed a little bit, but this is what it is today. So I'm going to go ahead and open the app. I already have it downloaded. And as soon as you open it up, you're going to see a bunch of data on the screen here. On the bottom, you're going to have a trajectory. I'm just going to call it an icon. You'll have your favorites icon, your rangefinder icon, your target icon, and your HUD, or heads-up display. So I'm going to go through each one of these and show you. I'm not going to get into the super nitty-gritty details, but I'm going to go through and show you what I've used so far, which has worked really good, which is probably about 75% of the functionality. But first, what I want to do is explain a little bit. In the settings, there are, let's see here. In the settings, it will, let's get into them here. Oh, I guess I already am. So your standard settings, so use your location settings, you can have that on for your GPS. Access your photos, you'll need that. Access your camera, you'll need that. And it'll just have, I'm not going to go through all these settings. You can change them once you figure it out. But the one cool thing that I like is, I guess it's not in the settings, but the one thing that I really, really like is the fact that it uses iCloud, and all of your favorites will get saved on your iPad. It'll get saved to iCloud, and then you open up the app on your iPhone, and then it will have all of the same settings there. So I'm not going to take my iPad out to the range. I'll take my iPhone out to the range. I'll be able to use the settings on my iPhone. When I get home and I want to load the data, I use the iPad with the bigger screen. So that's one of the things I really like about this app. It has a weather station input. I don't have one right now. I may get one in the future, but there's an add-on that you can buy to allow you to import those features. Alternatively, you can have it pull the weather data from your local weather station based off your GPS data, and or you can type in your weather data manually. So that's kind of some global settings for the whole app that I found useful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right into setting up a load. I'm getting ready to build some rounds for my AR, some coyote killing rounds. So I have some Hornady VMAX here, 55 grain, and I'm going to input those. So let me get reset up here, and I'll be right back and walk you through the next section. So you're on your trajectory icon. You go to your first option here, ballistic coefficient. So all it has a huge catalog of different bullets that you can pick, or you can do factory ammo. So you can go in and pick. You can pick your whatever, your store bought and stuff. has some other options here. I haven't really explored those. So I'm going to go bullets. So I'm going to go 5.56, so .224. And then I'm going to go, you see here, up here, Barnes, Burger. So I'm going to go down to Hornady. Where's H? There we go. And then 55 grain VMAX. So it will load the ballistic coefficient automatically into the field here. Bullet diameter 224. Obviously, we just picked that. 55 grain. That's obvious. You can pick the different drag models. I would just leave it on G1, unless you want to get into some more advanced calculations. Just leave it at G1. You'll be okay for the rookie like me on this app. Muzzle velocity. So I have not gone out and chronographed my one of these loads yet. So I'm making this up for the first time, just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to guess it's 2,900 feet per second. Chronograph at 10 foot. Drag models in there. G1. You don't really need to change that. For reloading data, powder type. Target. Powder weight, I'm going to guess 24.5. Primer type, S&D. Brass make. I think what I have is PMC. Actually, Federal. FC. Cartridge overall length. I'm going to want it to fit in my AR magazine, so 2.260. I believe that is what it is. And then your firearm, this is for labeling purposes. If you enter a firearm here, in the background, it's adding it to the app's database. So when you get into some of the other icons, when you start typing, it'll pull your rifle, and then it'll auto-populate. That way you can run reports, and I'll show you that later in the video. So right now I'm going to leave that. Well, you know what? Let's leave this up. How about I do this? How about I do AR 15, and then I'll just make it Coyote 20-inch barrel. Shot group, not quite sure what that's for. And then you can add any notes at the bottom. So you go back, so your reloading data is in there. So now you go down to your sighting characteristics. So zero range, my scope on my rifle is zeroed at 100 yards. So I have 100 yards in there. I don't have zero height or any zero offset set up on my scope, so I leave those zero. My sight height is 2 3/4 inches. And line of sight angle, I'm not going to adjust that, and I'm not going to adjust that. Those should be 0 unless you're doing something specific. Atmospheric conditions. I'm adding this load into this app as something I can use over and over, and the atmosphere is not going to be the same every single time I use this load in the app. So I'm going to make sure there's no atmosphere on this at all. When you get into the other settings, you can add atmosphere, but I'm going to make sure it's off. So it's off there. And you can see in the background here, temperature 59 degrees. I'm not sure why that's shadowed out, but you'll see it in another setting here soon. You don't have to worry about it. It's not screwing your calculations up. Your current atmosphere, you don't need to mess with that. Your wind configuration, you don't need to mess with this right here unless you have a specific need for it. So I'll show you that in a few minutes here, the wind configuration. So maximum range. So what this is going to do is it's going to show you your ballistics chart, your bullet drop over on a graph over so far of a distance. This is just setting that yardage for the z-axis of the graph. So I'm going to put 600 yards. And then minimum range, 0. Range increment, so this is going to be how many points on your x-axis that you want to see the drop. So let's do, I'm going to just leave it at 25 yards. Vital zone radius, that's like if you're hunting, how big. So if you're shooting a prairie dog, you're going to want that to be, maybe lower. I don't know. If you're shooting a moose, you're going to want that. You could probably raise that. Target speed, that's if your target speed is moving. We want that 0. Elevation and windage units, MOA. Some of the higher end scopes, you can get into some other units. You may want to adjust those. Elevation turret, windage turret. To be honest, I don't know what those mean. I don't mess with them. That's what they are. Spin and stability, you can leave that off. Coriolis, you can leave that off too. Those, unless you want to get into some advanced, super long, super long range, and know exactly, you can start adjusting that stuff. So now all your data is entered. So now you can get 4 different calculation charts, and then you can show you what the last 2 do. So first off, your ballistics chart. So there's your bullet drop, the red line. Your blue is your velocity, and then your black line is your energy. And you can see that the 600 yards is out there, and then your 0 is down here on your x-axis. The 25-yard increments, I guess those are just invisible points on each of these lines. They're not showing up down here. That's my guess. I'm not sure. What else here? I guess that's it. Let's go down to wind drift chart. So I didn't have any drift. I didn't put any wind on the wind drift chart. So obviously I'm not going to see anything here. Trajectory by altitude. So again, on the x-axis, you're going to have your yardage, your drop on the y-axis, and then over here your altitude. It'll show you at your different altitudes the different drop rates. So that's kind of handy if you live in the mountains. I don't, so not going to be needing that. Trajectory by angle. Same thing. So I guess it'd be handy if you're in the mountains, shooting downhill or something. And I'm going to show you the 3D trajectory imaging. So this is pretty cool. I think it's just cool because it looks cool. I don't really know if it's really useful for anything meaningful besides just moving it around and feeling cool that you can do it. Trajectory, calculate trajectory. So this is a pretty good chart that you're going to want to use. So this shows you basically everything that you entered over here. It's going to put it into a report over here. So your bullet, all my reloading data that I have in here, my rifle, my barrel length. Not sure what some of this stuff means. It's a little over my head there. Your ballistic coefficient, your bullet weight, muzzle velocity, your 0 range. All this stuff is. See, can you notice the sight height? I had 2.75 inches, so 2 3/4. It rounded it up to 2.8. So keep that in mind for some of these settings that you're doing. Oh, here's where the weather thing comes in. So I didn't do any weather, but it's showing temperature and stuff here. Just be aware of that. Same thing here. And then this is pretty this is the most useful thing on this page in this report, I think. There's your trajectory. So it takes the data in the graph and puts it into a chart. And then there's your 25-yard increments, and it goes all the way up to 600 yards. So at 600 yards, I'm going to have a 117.4 inch drop on that projectile. So this is useful. If you want to tweak this, hit these little icons up here. Here's your atmosphere. So you put in your date, your wind and your not your wind, but your altitude and all your temperature related things, and it will real time adjust your chart down here, which is pretty cool. Next one over, wind. Here's where you can do your wind. You can do your you can do multiple. So if you have wind, say you're shooting like 1,200 yards, out by the target, there's a wind, a certain wind. In the middle, there's a wind. Maybe it's not blowing as much because there's trees or something. And up where you're shooting, maybe it's an open field and it's blowing good. You can set different windage here. It'll take all that into consideration and give you your wind, and it'll put the data in here into this chart for you, which is really nice. And then this icon here, select zeroed load. These are loads I already have entered in. I'm not sure what this does, so I don't know what to tell you on that one. Haven't messed with that one yet. So once you have your report, what you want to do is hit that arrow. You want to add it to your favorites so you can use it again. So once you add it to your favorites, you're going to see that it's going to automatically populate the bookmark name and notes. This is going to be fine for today. I usually change it up a little bit. Then once you figure out what you want and you're good with it, hit save. Now, down here, the next icon over, favorites, you can go to that. And you can see some of the other loads I already have entered in here. I have the bullet, the caliber, Sierra Match King, 69 grain, and then the next number that I have is how many grains of powder I have, and then the cartridge overall length. And then you can see the one up top is the one I just created, the Hornady VMAX. So you can click it, and it'll bring your report up again. Same thing as on the last page, only now it's saved. And I can go to a different one, and you can see all my data is in there for different loads. And there's the Hornady one again. Same options up here. Same options over here. So one handy thing is, if you go back here to trajectory, it's going to have your data from your last entry that you just put in. You go over here to favorites, pick one of your ones that you already have saved. You can hit this button. You can load it. Takes you back to your trajectory icon with all your data that you had typed in. If you want to modify something, you can modify it and then hit your button to save, add it, and change the name, and then you'll get a new one. Exactly the same thing I did with all those. So the only thing I changed is how many grains of powder for every single one of them. So that's your first two icons. That's probably 75% of what you need or more for these first two icons. Alright guys, I'm on the Rangefinder icon now. I'm going to show you how to use this. First thing you're going to want to do, first thing that you see here is you're going to see a default reticle. This is stock. This comes with the program. You don't need to worry about this. Go up to settings, and there's going to be a spot to load your ballistics profile. So what this is these are the loads that you have set up. So previously in the trajectory, and then you saved it in the favorites. If you saved it in the favorites, you're going to see those here. So I'm going to go and pick my Hornady 55 grain VMAX that I just got done showing you how to set up. Next option here is your optics profile. So you go into that. I have one set up. Disregard it. Load a new one. There's pre-canned ones you can use if you want. The best thing is you can go out to your scope manufacturer's website, and you can download the reticle to your iPad or iPhone, whatever, and then you can load it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So you go into Image, use Photo Library. You're going to have your picture in here. So this is my reticle that I downloaded off of Burris website. I have a kind of a cheapy Burris drop time scope on my rifle, which works really good for me at this point. First thing it asks you to do is define your bottom anchor point. So this is basically you're scaling your reticle to tell the application how many mils or where your mils are located. So it can tell that the middle of your reticle is, obviously the crosshairs, and then you're putting the anchor point at the bottom of the. I take that back. I can't tell the middle of it's 5 mils. You're putting the anchor point at the bottom of the reticle. Here, you hit done. Then you're telling it the scale. So from that anchor point all the way up to the crosshairs, it's 5 mil. Because that's what my Burris reticle manual told me it is. You'll have to find that out in your scope's manufacturer's website. So once you get your reticle loaded in, do your reticle type as a mil dot, image filter, do standard, low magnification on my scope is 4.5. High is 14. And then my ranging point. Now this isn't listed on my scope reticle. I couldn't find it anywhere on the Burris site. I'm gonna guess that at 10x is your ranging point. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. Save your profile. Give it a name. So, Burris drop time. Save. Okay. Overwrote the one that I had there, which is fine. All the same settings are there. I'm going to load that. And there you go. So now that reticle is in there. Next options, sighting characteristics. My scope's zeroed at 100 yards, so you type in your yardage there. You can put wind in there if you want. You can put your wind direction in there if you want on your line of sight. I'm going to leave those all default. Atmosphere, you can do the same thing here. Now remember back when we did configured your load under trajectory, you could put your atmosphere in. It would load those in when you loaded your load into the profile here in the settings. I didn't have anything. I wanted to be able to adjust it here if I want. That way I can see things change when I put different atmospheric conditions in. Output options, muzzle velocity, 2900 feet per second. That's pulled from my trajectory that I typed in. Coriolis acceleration. You can add that here if you want. And elevation units and windage units are all, I'm using MOA. So, once you get that all set up, what you can do is, so there's two things here. The green with the red box, what that represents is an object in your field of sight here. If you know how big your object is, so say I am shooting at a 12-inch gong. I walk out down the range and I point my rifle at the target, and I know it's 12 inches. I put it up and see that it's exactly, well, it looks like it's exactly 1.5 mil. Then I'll know that I'm 336 yards away. I can change that. So if I am exactly 1 mil for that 12 inches, you can see my magnification is 14x here. So I can actually change this. Just go down to 10x. That's where I had my range. That's right, it's entered in. Okay, 10x. And I know that target is 12 inches, it's going to fit 1 mil, then I'll know I'm 350 yards out. So you can also move this around if you want. So you can bring it in a couple different areas. I just chose to do it here. The mills are the same all the way around, obviously, so I just chose to put it there for the anchor point. The second thing is your holdover. So you see the little red box. I'm at 350 yards. If I want to hit my target, then I'm going to need to hold over. It looks like at 1.5 mils there. So I would want to hold right there. And then in the real world with no atmospheric conditions or anything, I should hit that gong. And you can see here, if you change your wind speed and your wind direction, I'll get this really crazy here. You can see that little red box moves. So that's where you need to point your scope to be able to hit that box. So it's really cool to be able to change based on your load type in real time and see how things move around here. Alright, so that is pretty much it for the extent that I've used this rangefinder icon here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the target. I'm going to get reset back up here, and I'll be right back. Alright, I am back, ready to show you the target icon in the Ballistic app. So I have a bunch of these already set up from a previous from previous targets that I entered in. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to go through and show you how to create a new one. I'm not going to actually type the data in. I'm going to show you what the fields all are, and then I'm going to go into one that I've already done and show you what the what one completed looks like. So first field, title. That's just the name. You can see all the titles I have over here. They're listed below. Date. Today's date. It automatically populates. Range, you can type in the name of your range. Obviously the time, it's going to pull your time right now. Your location in the range, I guess, and distance to target. Then you can type in your atmospheric pressures, or your atmosphere. Bunch of different information there. And then your firearm. So this is, if you remember what he's saying on the trajectory tab or icon here, when you start typing a rifle, it will auto-populate. So you can see I typed the A. One of the rifles I have in here labeled as AR-15 varmint. That is really nice. You don't have to type it all out. For some reason it's not picking up AR-15 Coyote, but I must have missed something in there. But if you have those in there, then it'll automatically populate your firearm. And you can see here too at the top, AR-15 varmint. When you put your rifle in there, you can look at all your targets for that rifle. When you put a new rifle in there, you'll have another one at the bottom down here with a new rifle. So it's nice to have that. Same thing with the load. You can type in it'll start auto-populating. I can't remember what I used for a load, that Hornady load, the first couple letters, but what the point is, it'll auto-populate for you. So you have your two different data cards here, your zero data card, and you have your target data card. To be honest with you, I've not read up between the two. I decided to use out of the two, I decided to use the target data card. And you can type in if you're scoring, you can set that up here too. But really, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you. Say I shot say 10 different shots at a target. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see they're all right there in the upper left. It's fine, whatever. Go to grouping. This is the pretty cool part. You can actually load a target. So take a picture with your phone. This is where it's nice. You have the app on both of your devices. Take a picture with your phone at each target, get it set up, and then label it. And then when you get home, you can actually go in and set this up in detail. Since it syncs to iCloud and everything. I switched to ring, and I'll show you here in a second. You just move them where your shots are, and it'll give you your all kinds of statistics. And before you do this, you'll have to know what 1 inch is. Well, let's see if it'll let me do this. Yeah. So when you let's say this target back here is a photo that you have. Scale to 1 inch and scale to 1/2 inch, or you can do a custom. So the targets that I have, the center where the X is, that's 1 inch. So you can scale. You see, you can move this over and put it right in the center, and then the target will know that that's 1 inch. And then you can go up here and type in your projectile diameter. So it's set for 50 cal. I got sausage fingers, so it's not. Oh, I gotta hit done. I'm still trying to scale. You can type in your bullet diameter, so 224. And then the little rings will get this exact size of the caliber that you're using. Now let's go look at a completed one. Let's see, I want to get rid of that. Alright, let's go look at. Let's look at this one. Alright, so this is one that I shot a few days ago. I populated all the information. I'm not doing a really good job on the atmosphere stuff, but whatever. I put in there what I knew. There's my load. There's my rifle. Target data card. So here is an actual target that I had stuck on some cardboard. And that black circle right there is exactly 1 inch, so that's what I scaled it to. I was showing you a couple minutes ago, or a couple seconds ago. You can see my rings that I have set up with my numbers on them. So that's each one of those rows there on that table. Go to grouping. So this is the cool part. So 224, your projectile diameter. I have it set to ring, so you can actually see behind. If you do like paper, it looks kind of, oh shoot, my sausage fingers got in there. I see paper, and it doesn't look. You can do round, whatever. I just like the ring, so you can actually see the bullet hole. Target distance 200 yards. I did 5 shots here, and you put the rings in over your shots, and it'll tell you your MOA, for your grouping and all that. Average the center, give you a bunch of stats. So really, really, really cool, useful, and if you ever need to go back and look at groupings for a specific load that you are trying to develop, you can go back and visually see your groups. So really cool feature of this app that I like a lot. And if I do a really good grouping, I get it on here, I can go and bring it up on my phone and look at it wherever I want. So really cool. Can't say that enough. All right, let me get set back up here, and we'll go over the heads-up display. So I haven't really had a chance to use this yet at the range, but I can see where it would be extremely useful. Go to settings. First thing, you put in your ballistics profile. So everything revolves around your ballistics profiles that you save over in the left 2 icons, as you can see. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to pick my the Hornady profile that I just set up. And like on the other screens, you can set your zero range, your wind velocity. Actually, it's set for 10 miles per hour here, which is fine. We can use that as the demo. The direction and line of sight angle. You put in your atmosphere. So let's do the atmosphere right now, where I am. Go up here, hit that little dot that little GPS thing. So at the weather station where I'm at right now, 650 foot above sea level, my barometric pressure, and temperature 28.4, and humidity. So it's pretty cool. Muzzle velocity, again, coming from the Ballistics profile, 2,900 feet per second. Turret velocity acceleration, I have that off. You turn it on if you want. And then your output options. So once you have all that in there, go here to settings. So if I'm sitting at the range getting ready to take a shot, say at, do 600 yards. Now remember, your maximum that you set up in your bullet trajectory or ballistics load, if you remember, we have a maximum distance of 600 yards. That's why it's only going to 600. So if you needed to change that, you'd have to go reset up your ballistics profile. Wind speed. Let's say it's doing 8, and the direction. Let's say 9 o'clock. Target is static, not moving. So as you can see on the screen, it's basically this is the data that you're going to use to hit your target. So it's really, really cool to be able to see this. You just dial in your wind, your yardage, and based on your load data, it's going to give you exactly exactly all the data that you're going to need to hit the target. And then you can also see down here, you can scroll through your ballistics chart and see your drop and all that down here, which is really handy. So that's about it. Like I said, I haven't had time to really dig into all these advanced settings, but from what I have seen of this app right now, it's really, really awesome. And it's updated a lot too with the new projectiles and new factory ammunition data. So it's a really good app. So I hope you enjoyed this overview, and I'm going to go ahead and put a link. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put a link to my webpage, readysetreload.com, in the comments. Check it out. Got some pretty good videos on there. And hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon.